So the question is there evidence for macro or large scale evolution?
Well, the evidence that's put forth, I think, is not good evidence. There are two major reasons. If you put most of the reasons that macroevolutionists try and give for their viewpoint, you could talk about the similarity in the genetic code between certain creatures and homology, which is the structure of these living things. So let's just call it DNA and homology. Now, when Richard Dawkins was asked that question, what's the best evidence you have for macroevolution? He basically said the genetic code and other biochemical fundamentals, meaning that we appear to have a common ancestor in our DNA. Now, that certainly is a valid possible interpretation. They could be right about that. Maybe we are ancestrally related somehow, and that DNA is evidence of that. That's one possible interpretation. But what's the other possible interpretation they're not even open to? Instead of a common ancestor, we could have a common designer. I mean, why do all cars, or most cars anyway, have 4 tires? Because they have a common ancestor? No, because they have a common designer that works well transporting small groups of people. 4 tires, right? It's a common designer, not a common ancestor. And the same thing is true with homology. The things, they look alike. Is that a common design or is it a common ancestor? You can't tell just by that evidence. You need other evidence outside of those two things, DNA and homology, to see which way the evidence points. Does it point more toward a macroevolutionary view or more toward an intelligent design view? And when you look at other evidence, I think it's beyond question that the best evidence shows that we are designed, not evolved, in a macroevolutionary viewpoint. Now, the macroevolutionary viewpoint is molecules to man without intelligence. We all believe in microevolution, that we can adapt within our type. But the idea that we're all ancestrally related and there has been no intelligence putting any of this together, I think is demonstrably false. And in our book, Stealing from God, we go through the reasons why macroevolution is not plausible. I'll just give you a few of them real quickly. We don't have time to go into the details, but the fossil record does not agree with macroevolution. Epigenetic information does not agree with macroevolution. That's the structure of the cell that can't be modified by DNA. You can mutate DNA from now till doomsday. You'll never get a new body plan. And even Darwinists are starting to admit this. Irreducible complexity does not allow something to be modified gradually and still have function. All the pieces and all the parts need to be there in working order for you to have the right function at all. So that seems to defeat this gradualism that Darwinism talks about. And there are other reasons as well. So I think the evidence is much stronger we were intelligently designed than we evolved.
Amen. Amen. Well said, Frank. I completely agree. The evidence suggests that we are created or designed and not having evolved through large-scale evolutionary processes.
And Donnie, one other thing we should add to this too. This is an interesting debate, but even if macroevolutionists were true, that there's some sort of evolutionary process going on, that wouldn't defeat Christianity. It might cause us to reinterpret passages in the Old Testament, right? But it wouldn't mean that Christianity is false. It wouldn't mean there's no God. It wouldn't mean that Jesus didn't rise from the dead, okay? In fact, if macroevolution is true, the laws that drive it are created and sustained by God. Natural laws themselves appear to be designed. Why are they so precise and consistent? Why are they so fine-tuned? Because there's a mind behind them. In fact, you can even think of it this way. How can we even do this live stream right now, Donnie? Think about all of the natural laws and all of the design that went into this for this to even continue. Once people designed the programs that we're using now and designed the internet and all, Al Gore designed it all. Once all that was designed, the natural laws that allow it to work have to keep doing what they're doing consistently and precisely. I mean, if the laws of electromagnetism or the laws of gravity varied every 10 minutes, we couldn't do any of this. We couldn't live, obviously, but we couldn't even have this live stream. Now, why are these laws the way they are? Why are they so precise? Why are they in such a narrow window in which they could be for life to exist? And why do they stay there? These appear to be the product of a mind. This is what Aristotle called the unmoved mover. This is what Thomas Aquinas called his fifth way to argue for God, that all things are designed and appear to be going in a direction. The natural laws themselves appear to be designed, and they're going in a direction.
Amen. Amen. The naturalists are stuck between a rock and a hard place because, as you point out, the evidence is not necessarily in favor of universal common ancestry, but hypothetically, if it were, it's still no help to the naturalist.
No, because the laws that drive it still need to be explained. And of course, evolution doesn't explain where the universe came from, doesn't explain where the first life came from, or why the universe is fine-tuned, doesn't explain where natural laws came from, doesn't explain objective morality, doesn't explain where the laws of mathematics, the laws of logic, the laws of morality or consciousness came from, doesn't explain Old Testament prophecy, doesn't explain the evidence we have that Jesus rose from the dead. None of this is explained by macroevolution. If macroevolution is true, it explains a very small sliver of reality. It doesn't explain what we really need to be explained if we're going to have a worldview that has the proper explanatory power and scope to explain what we actually observe.
Amen. Amen. And I like what you're saying about just the ability to live stream like we are. All of this and how technical and complicated all this is, and still one single cell more complicated than the laptops we're communicating through,
far more.
The cars we're driving.
Oh, yeah.
So
in fact, I don't know if you know, you've probably heard I think it's called biomimetics.
Yeah.
Where we study natural machines in nature and try and mimic them because nature does it better than we do. We have scientists looking at cells and little machinery in cells going, how can we design something like this out here? Because, man, this thing is so amazing, so efficient. How do we do this? And so we're studying nature to learn how to design stuff ourselves.
And all of that came about by chance for no reason
Yes.
at all, apparently, according to the naturalist. So great response and great answer, Frank.
As a quick reminder to everyone, hit that like button. It actually does help. Team Standing for Truth is out.